to face his own old age, he did it with a vengeance, which by Commodius Vicus takes us back to our own beginning. There are many, many Yeats poems towards the end that are about aging, as I said. I've chosen to look at the Tower, this one, and on just parts of the Tower, because I think the last 12 lines of the Tower are, in my opinion, it's the best poetry that I've encountered so far, the last lines. It is based as a poem on, not based as a poem, it intertextually references Shakespeare. Now, what's an intertextual reference? An intertextual reference is when you indicate your awareness and appreciation of another writer that you use as a source for the piece that you're writing, but you measure yourself against it. It's like playing poker or something. It's like, I'll raise you. So you've done this and it's great. And in intertextually referencing what you've done, I'm indicating that it's great, and I'm trying to use that to make something new. So this is Prospero's speech from the end of The Tempest. It's Shakespeare's farewell to writing. He symbolically breaks his staff. Right? So Prospero, he makes a speech. Our revels now are ended. These our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And, like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherits, shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. So, I've just taken sections from The Tower, this Yeats poem, that I think are relevant to what we're talking about. We saw this one before. This is the opening of the poem. What shall I do with this absurdity, O heart, O troubled heart, this caricature, decrepit age that has been tied to me as to a dog's tail? Never had I more excited, passionate, fantastic, nor an eye and ear that more expected the impossible. No, not in boyhood, when with rod and fly or the humble worm I climbed Ben Bulben's back and had the livelong summer day to spend. Did all old men and women, rich and poor, who trod upon these rocks or passed this door, whether in public or in secret, rage, as I do now against old age? Does the imagination dwell the most upon a woman won or woman lost? If on the lost, admit you turned aside from a great labyrinth out of pride, cowardice, some silly over-subtle thought, or anything called conscience once. And that if memory recur, the sun's under eclipse, and the day blotted out. It is time that I wrote my will, and I declare my faith. Death and life were not till man made up the whole, made lock, stock, and barrel out of his bitter soul. I, sun and moon and star, all, and further add to that, being dead, we rise, dream, and so create translunar paradise. Antinomies. Oppositions. Yeats is the site of contradictory oppositions that through his work are clearly stated and yet sometimes synthesized in profound ways, or at least in ways that critical language cannot articulate. We think in terms of life and death. This is a poem, if I interpret it, we think in terms of life and death. But out of that, we make up a certain chronology, a certain passage. Alternately, that's something, a different layer, gives rise to our ideas of life and death. And simultaneously, not one or the other. This is hard, look. Here's a quote from Yeats. The abstract life and everywhere draws out its contradictions. You can refute Hegel, but not the Song of Sixpence. Now, my understanding of this line is that poetry can state realities, or hint at realities that other forms of language, particularly science, the scientific method, cannot, which would make it Hegelian. The whole idea of a thesis, antithesis, you synthesize and drive things forward. Marx is a great Hegelian, that society changes through revolution. It is revolution that drives society, not something that happens to society. What's robbing a bank to founding one? But once you try to explain these things in philosophy, in the language of philosophy, you lose that possibility of that coexistence, the two together. So, I'm going to leave you with the concluding lines from the Tower. I'm going to flick over, I'm going to leave them there, and I'm not going to read them. And hopefully, you'll read them, and you'll hear Yeats. That's what I'm banking on. And I'm not going to read them because I can't read them without silencing one of the impulses. Because it's not, I know I'm going to die and I'm angry as hell about it and I'm just full of this passion, but I've come to accept it and I recognize it happens to everyone and I've achieved a higher serenity and we're moving from A to B. It's not that. It's those two impulses together at the same time, not one at the expense of the other. And they coexist. And that's Yeats's politics. That's how Yeats does the politic, because it's either revolution or resolution, and sometimes it's the both. It's a resolution that is a revolution that is a resolution. So let's see, and then we go for it. Yeats's dead voice alive. Oh, wait. Tim, he goes, yeah, you don't understand my work at all. We good to go? Okay, I'll leave you at The End of the Tower by William Butler Yeats. Thank you.